Hello and welcome. Governors of the All Progressives Congress back consensus option ahead of the party's national convention on Saturday, vow to support whoever the president backs for various positions. PDP Governors Forum meet in Abia State asked Nigerians to reject the ruling party as former Vice President Atiku Abubakar formally announces ambition to contest for president in 2023. National Assembly vows to appeal Abia Court judgment ordering the deletion of Section 84, subsection 12 of the Electoral Act 2022. Attorney General says work in progress to effect court verdict. And first female U.S. Secretary of State Madeleine Albright dies at the age of 84. And international news from our London studio.
On business news tonight, latest report by World Bank says 4 in 10 Nigerians currently living below national poverty line.
On sports news tonight, top-ranked Ashley Barty stuns the tennis world by retiring from the sport aged just 25, saying she has fulfilled her dreams.
And from Abuja, former President Goodluck Jonathan emphasizes sustainability of democracy in West Africa as key to resolving various challenges in the sub-region.
Political activities are on the upswing ahead of the 2023 general elections as more aspirants declare their intentions publicly, while the main political parties draw up their game plans. Now let's begin with the ruling party, the All Progressives Congress. And ahead of its national convention on Saturday, governors elected under its platform have adopted the consensus option and agreed to back whoever the president supports for their various positions. The governors made their decision known after the meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari at the presidential villa to firm up decisions ahead of the convention. Our State House correspondent Gloria Umezuke reports.
Less than 72 hours to the March 26th National Convention of the All Progressives Congress, President Muhammadu Buhari is meeting with members of the Progressive Governors Forum at the State House. 16 members attend physically this meeting, which is considered crucial. Moments after, not only does the body language of the governors appear unanimous, but their proposed decisions too.
Mr. President has always urged consensus for all positions because consensus is in accordance with the democratic tenet, and to that extent we will support any process that will lead to consensus and the emergence of leaders without the need for election.
He notes that the party is not averse to any decision by any party member to contest, in spite of the governor's plan to follow the president's recommendation for a consensus candidate.
Where people still chose to go against the grain, whatever the party constitution allows them, because we wouldn't do anything undemocratic.
Earlier, Governor David Umahi of Ebonyi State met privately with the president in his office. Apparently unfazed by the legal entanglements, he made clear at the end of that visit that his presidential ambitions are still intact.
I'm not worried because in the first place, there is no constitutional provision that says that a governor can be sued in the first place. So I'm not suable, but a court judgment is a court judgment. I'm not to interpret it, but the Constitution we swore to uphold, and Supreme Court says votes cast in an election belong to the candidates, and that's why you have qualifications of a candidate and not qualifications of a political party.
He also thanks the PDP and his southern counterpart, who he recounts have boasted openly about being behind his legal travails.
The hatchet man that boasted is likened to Judas Iscariot. What qualifies you just because you are packing money that is public fund, not intellectual material. If he says he has done well and there is Mr. This or that, let him come for public debate with me.
Now, even though the governors appear to be speaking in one accord, it would seem there are still areas of major concerns. And from what we glean, the governors are determined to sort out these areas, particularly in the next few days, to ensure a drama-free convention on March 26. From the presidential villa, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, the PDP Governors Forum is urging Nigerians to reject the APC, a party they say is run undemocratically by a committee contrary to the constitution. The governors stated this after their regular meeting in Abia State, where they reviewed what they described as the excruciating hardship and suffering that Nigerians are going through. Their communique was read by the forum's chairman and Sokoto State Governor Aminu Tambuwal, who was concerned and alarmed about various reports and claims of incidents of stealing of crude oil by industry players.
We lament the terrible pain and hardship facing Nigerians in virtually all aspects of life. The meeting noted that life was much better in 2015 under the PDP than today under the APC, as exemplified in the following comparative indicators obtained mainly from the National Bureau of Statistics. A. Diesel, which is critical for running of SMEs, was in 2015 131 naira 47 kobo. It now costs above 700 naira. Fuel, PMS, official and black market as at 2015 was 87 naira per litre official price and 155 in the black market. It now costs 167 official pump price and 350 at the black market. Aviation fuel and air ticket rate on domestic flights was 110 per litre, 18,000 in 2015. It now hovers around 700 naira per litre. The ticket then, air ticket then was 18,000 naira, and now is about 70,000 naira, where available.
Meanwhile, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has formally declared his intention to run for office of the president in the 2023 general elections. He made the declaration in Abuja, where he says unity and security, as well as education, will be prioritized by his administration. Our correspondent, Empress Simon, reports.
Party supporters, eminent personalities, including former Vice President Alhaji Namadi Sambo, Governor Amodu Fintiri of Adamawa State, former governors and lawmakers converge on this hall to witness the public declaration by former Vice President Alhaji Atiku Abubakar of his presidential ambition. One after the other, the speakers eulogize Alhaji Atiku Abubakar as they drum support for him.
We need Alhaji Atiku Abubakar to come forward and bring back those qualities, bring back the sanity that is required for the development of Nigeria.
His commitment to the unity, growth and development of Nigeria is not in doubt.
Very important that we nominate a winner, and that winner is Atiku Abubakar.
It's time to make the declaration, and the former vice president highlights what he intends to do if elected as president of Nigeria.
I want to focus on 5 key areas: unity of Nigeria, security, economy, education, and developing more resources and powers to the federating unit. Since the Civil War, the unity of Nigeria has never been threatened as it is today. Nigerians are losing hope in the oneness of this country. My fellow Nigerians, I am the unifier.
It's an exciting moment for supporters. Also present at the event is the former governor of Anambra State and presidential aspirant, Mr. Peter Obi.
Aspiring does not say I should not keep my relationship that is very cordial and everything. I'm aspiring.
This is the third time former Vice President Atiku Abubakar will be contesting for the president under the platform of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, since leaving office in 2007. Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
And there are many more as the former Senate President Bukola Saraki has met with the National Assembly caucus of the People's Democratic Party to canvass support for his presidential ambition ahead of the 2023 general elections. He says the National Assembly has a key role to play in promoting good governance in Nigeria, and this is one of the reasons for sharing his aspiration with them. Call it the battle of the arms of government, and you may not be wrong, as the National Assembly says it will appeal the Abia State High Court judgment, which directed the Attorney General of the Federation to delete Section 84, subsection 12 of the newly signed Electoral Act. The lawmakers maintain that the clause was directed at political appointees and not civil servants. They say the court passed a judgment on a matter which was not included in the Electoral Act passed by the National Assembly. Our correspondent Terry Ikumi reports.
The newly signed Electoral Act continues to generate controversies. Parliament is dissatisfied with the High Court in Abia State, which ordered the Attorney General to delete Section 8412 of the Act, which states that no political appointee at any level shall be a voting delegate or be voted for at the convention or congress of any political party for the purpose of the nomination of candidates for any election. Lawmakers view this as a breach of privilege and question why the National Assembly was not copied in the suit.
The Constitution was talking about employment, employed public servant or civil servant in federal appointment or in civil or in state appointment. The court cannot interpret what the legislators do not intend. And our intention here was only to address the issue of political appointees.
I had expected that whatever that the judiciary would do is to interpret, and in the course of interpretation, can still refer back to the National Assembly to say, please, do this, but not asking that the executive to do the job of the National Assembly.
Members of this institution must rise against this aberration. We are not only lawmakers, we must be custodians of laws.
Punctuation.
The Speaker guides the House to take a stand on the matter.
You cannot touch a piece of legislation unless it is done by those who have the constitutional authority to do so. I will appeal from here that the Attorney General should stop and desist for now and not foreclose the constitutional right of appeal and allow the law to be settled.
Leader of the Senate.
Meanwhile, in the Senate, the debate continues from the previous day, as senators told the line of the Green Chamber to file an appeal.
Senior finally believes further that letting the judgment to go without concern will become a precedent on which any person could go to the court and obtain judgment to ridicule the good intentions of the National Assembly as an institution.
Senate resolves to appeal the judgment in suit marked FHC UMC CS 26/2022 for the court to set aside the judgment.
The National Assembly questions the grounds on which the judgment was given and why it was done far away from the Federal Capital Territory where the main parties are based. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
In part two, after the break, Attorney General and Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami says deletion of controversial Section 84, subsection 12 in the Electoral Act is still work in progress. That's in a moment. Do join us again. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, coming to you live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Governors of the All Progressives Congress back consensus option ahead of the party's national convention on Saturday, vow to support whoever the president backs for various positions. PDP Governors Forum meets in Abia State, asks Nigerians to reject the ruling party as former Vice President Atiku Abubakar formally announces ambition to contest for president in 2023. National Assembly vows to appeal Abia Court judgment ordering the deletion of Section 84, subsection 12 in the Electoral Act 2022. Attorney General says work in progress to effect court verdict. And first female U.S. Secretary of State, Madeleine Albright, dies at the age of 84. The Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami says that the deletion of Section 84, subsection 12 of the Electoral Act 2022 is still a work in progress and is being considered as such. He said this while fielding questions from State House correspondents today after the weekly Federal Executive Council meeting presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari at the State House. Let's cross over to Abuja now. Here's Markwe Ogun Yusuf.
Hello, Ijoma. The outcome of the West African Elders Forum meeting leads our bulletin tonight as former President Goodluck Jonathan says the sustainability of democracy in West Africa is key to resolving the challenges in the sub-region. For Dr. Jonathan, democracy is a communal asset and it therefore requires collective action and consensus building by all stakeholders to safeguard it. The former president was speaking at the strategy meeting of the West African Elders Forum here in Abuja.
We are not partisan.
This strategy meeting of the West African Elders Forum is to assess some of the current trends and events happening within the West African sub-region and propose a plan of action towards forestalling a further deterioration of peace and stability of the sub-region. Former President Goodluck Jonathan is leading the conversation at the meeting, which was attended by some former presidents in West Africa. He expresses concerns over the threat posed to democracy by the military.
This is why we need to continually advocate for strengthening of our democratic institutions. Strong institutions are the pillars for the sustenance of our democracy and the development of our nations. As stakeholders must therefore help in this regard and fashion out the best approach towards the strengthening of our political systems.
The forum believes democracy should be sustainable in the region and leaders must work to prevent conflicts in the region.
We have had 5 coups. 3 succeeded. 2 have failed. Is this trend something we can idly sit by and ignore? I believe as elders with the mandate that we have made known, we have a great responsibility to continue to engage.
It's difficult because government don't like people intervening within the internal affairs, but I think we can find a way to talk to different actors when we see that there is a risk of the situation deteriorating.
The West African Elders Forum is a body of former top government officials in the region, and they have pledged to continue to meet periodically to map out solutions to the various issues confronting the sub-region. Delia Moyeni, Channels Television News.
And to infrastructure, 24 hours after the inauguration of the new terminal building at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos, the Federal Executive Council has approved the sum of 92.12 billion naira for the construction of a second runway at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport here in Abuja. Minister of Aviation, Senator Hadi Sirika, disclosed this to State House correspondents after the virtual Federal Executive Council meeting today, presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari at the Presidential Villa. According to him, the approved funds will be spread over a number of works to be carried out at the airport over a period of 12 months.
The Council considered and graciously approved the construction of a second runway in Abuja, in NDDC International Airport. The total contract sum for that procurement, which will be including 7.5% VAT, and which has a completion period of 12 months, is 92,123,175,305 Nigerian naira and 77 kobo. So the procurement is divided into lots A, B, C, D, and E.
In the Niger Delta, the interim administrator of the Presidential Amnesty Program, retired Colonel Mila Dikio, is warning against the activities of informal operators of modular refineries in the Niger Delta region. At the second edition of the engagement on the integration of modular and artisanal refinery operations in the oil and gas sector in Abuja, Colonel Dikio explains that the domestic refining of crude oil by artisans in host communities had grave health and environmental implications for the country.
There are problems with artisanal refining. But what's the solution? Is it kinetic? Is it carrot and stick? We can spend all the time in the world debating it, but one of the things that we cannot run away from is that these activities have very serious, deleterious health and environmental implications. However, PAP, the Presidential Amnesty Program, under my leadership, came to the identification that some of these pillars were operating in silos, and so we decided as one of our mission goals to create the horizontal relationships that were needed for the Presidential Amnesty Program to interface with the other critical stakeholders. We do not attempt to do other people's jobs. We have enough on our plate already. But we believe that it's very important that we do not operate in silos, because we're all working for the same government, the same country.
And staying with work around the Niger Delta region, rewarding diligence and excellence is one guaranteed way of bringing out the best in an organization's workforce. Well, that's according to the interim administrator of the Niger Delta Development Commission, Dr. Effiong Akwa. The NDDC boss made this remark when 126 staff of the commission were given Meritorious Service Awards. 35 of the members of staff have served the commission for 25 years. Dr. Akwa, who was represented by the Director of Administration, Dr. Charles Akman, also gave the assurance that all outstanding allowances due to members of staff will be settled promptly.
The intention is to encourage them to work harder, to encourage them to interact within the workplace, and so that others will also follow them. Because if you don't encourage them, they might not be able to put in their best at workplaces. So we do this once in a while, 10 years, 20 years, sometimes 5 years in other organizations, to encourage and motivate them to work. Very impactful. You can even see the reaction of the staff when each of them was called. People were happy and encouraged. So I think it's something we should continue. It has really influenced and affected work since we started this award. And it is in line with international best practice that you motivate your staff in matters like this.
A Deputy Director of Administration in the NDDC, Mrs. Chinyere Ume, responded on behalf of the awardees.
Thank you very much, sir.
I want to assure you of our continued dedication, diligence, and input. I want to also assure you that we will not rest on our oars in passing on the tradition of hard work to the upcoming ones, the younger ones, and God willing, we will continue to pray for the betterment of the region. And not just pray, we will also continue to do our bits to project the image of the Commission positively outside there.
Well, congratulations to the awardees. Still ahead on the news at 10, fire razes shops under the Eco Bridge at the Akpongwon area of Lagos. Officials say integrity of the bridge has been compromised. Do join us again.
Welcome back to the news at 10. After many hours, the fire that engulfed shops under the Eko Bridge in Lagos Island has finally been put out. Officials say the integrity of the bridge has been compromised and it may have to be shut for some time, while traders under the bridge have been asked to vacate the area with immediate effect.
This is a popular Akpongwon Bridge in Lagos Island, parts of which has been gutted by fire, which spread from the contained shops under it. Akpongwon is usually a beehive of activities where market men and women sell their goods. But the ugly incident has disrupted daily routine, leaving some of them counting their losses.
All our market don't burn. All waiting with the shop, it don't burn. We don't get anything to shop now.
The Lagos State Fire Service, national and state emergency management agencies, and other first responders are on the ground to salvage the situation. While that is ongoing, some residents are taking advantage of the situation, picking canned products exposed to fire for sale. A section of the bridge has been badly affected with the heat, opening the deck. The State Commissioner for Transportation says vehicles will be diverted to alternative routes.
We're going to shut down this bridge, which means that we're going to have a reduced network. But I must say to Lagosians that because of the reduced network, we should expect traffic.
The federal and state government is unhappy about the inferno and gives 7 days ultimatum to traders and owners of articulated vehicles under the bridge to vacate the area.
By 31st of March, the task force will swing into action and we will impound on all recalcitrant elements that we find under the bridge shall be forcibly evicted. Not only that, they will be made to pay for the removal of any item that we have to remove.
We've been able to combat the fire, and then you do the integrity test, and then we do the certification on the bridge. But clearly from what I see, from the abutment to this span here, we will probably need to change the deck. It's as bad as that. Because you've had more than 5 hours of exposure of fire, or almost 8. It's as bad.
Although the cause of the fire is yet to be ascertained, traders have been asked to stop the storage of carbonated drinks at unapproved location to prevent such incident. Akpongwon Bridge has now been added to the list of other federal infrastructure that need repair in Lagos State.
And staying in Lagos, something else this time, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has launched 1,000 brand new cars for modernized taxi scheme in the state. During the unveiling at the Lagos Alausa House Ikeja, the governor said the first batch of the automobiles, called Lagos Ride, is a component of the state government's multimodal transportation blueprint to make commuting a lot easier for residents.
We're here to hand over to people that will be operating the lease to own taxi scheme. Under this arrangement, all beneficiaries will be provided with a brand new car, which over time will become the driver's property after the completion of the payment of the vehicles that have been heavily subsidized. This is a taxi scheme that is meant to provide employment and dignity for our citizens. The critical issue of safety and security of life and property for our riders and the operators is equally important. The operation of these taxis are therefore technologically enabled with the following key security features. Each of the operator driver is given an Android phone that is loaded with relevant apps, thereby ensuring that there is efficiency in the operations in whatever part of the city they are in. Full security gadgets, including a dashboard camera. There's a 360 dashboard camera in the vehicles that gives audio and video feedback accessible remotely for the next 24 hours.
African-founded cryptocurrency exchange Quedax has announced its collaboration with popular music producer Michael Collins, popularly known as Don Jazzy. Don Jazzy was revealed as the company's brand ambassador at the ceremony in Lagos. During the event, the co-founder and chief executive officer at Quedax, Buchi Okoro, says the partnership will enable the company to educate more Nigerians about the prospects and benefits of crypto trade to grow the industry.
Crypto startup Quedax had launched an online campaign tagged the Quedax Call.
Hello.
In the video, an unknown person was seen to be making calls to some Nigerian celebrities, drawing their interest to Quedax cryptocurrency and exchange platform. While the campaign lasted on the social media space, the caller remained a suspense until at this event where Michael Don Jazzy Collins is revealed to be the person making the calls. Don Jazzy is said to have more than 18 million followers across Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Quedax is taking advantage of his social networks and interpersonal skills to generate interest in its brand.
Don Jazzy is more than celebrity. He's an actual human being that you can relate to. And then he's been doing a lot to educate himself, not just himself and others about crypto, what's happening in the space. So we thought it would be a fantastic partnership, a partnership made in heaven for us and Don Jazzy as well.
Besides being passionate about crypto, Don Jazzy also owns crypto assets. So he will be offering experience and education to prospective customers.
I want us to be at the forefront of cryptocurrency, moving on. So I chose to join Quedax. It's a homegrown company, and I'll do my best to educate everybody that cares to listen that it is not a bad thing to know about or invest in.
And right before guests, the brand ambassador performs his first assignment by calling one of his followers to join Quedax.
I take him. So long as I take him. Yeah, too much. Thank you very much.
To further encourage people to invest in cryptocurrency, Quedax recently launched an academy aimed at making it easy for anyone to learn about crypto.
We built out an academy where people are now able to go there, and then you learn about cryptocurrency, you learn what it is, you learn how not to get scammed, you learn why it's important, how you can integrate it into your business, right? So we think that's super powerful for the growth of the space.
Recently, Quedax became the first African crypto exchange to be listed on CoinMarketCap, the world's most referenced price tracking website for crypto assets.
And for the rest of the business news, here's Anne Waudu.
Thanks a lot, Ijoma. Hello and welcome to Business News. Let's begin with the World Bank's assessment, which says that 4 in 10 Nigerians are currently living below national poverty line. And that's according to the latest report coming from there. In its new assessment of the country, the International Finance Institution points out that government's poverty reduction efforts were being primarily affected by slow growth, labor market weaknesses, and low human capital. That report also explains that millions of Nigerians have now resorted to dangerous survival strategies like reduction in education and food consumption, which could have negative effects for human capital in the long run. Meanwhile, the World Bank's country director for Nigeria says that urgent steps must be taken to help lift millions of Nigerians out of poverty, including boosting health and education, creation and productive jobs, and expanding social protection. The success of the Africa Free Trade Agreement is hinged on the robust cooperation among member nations in the ECOWAS sub-region. That's the consensus reached today by stakeholders at the Roundtable on Cross-Border Trade in West Africa, organized by economic think tank, the Center for the Promotion of Private Enterprise. The Chief Executive Officer of CPPE and the representative of the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment believes that heads of ECOWAS member countries should commit more to integration of the economy.
We have quite a number of people that trade across the sub-regions, and they have been throwing up a whole lot of issues. Issues around the multiple checkpoints, issues around arbitrary tariffs, issues. So the whole idea is to aggregate these issues, use them in our process of evidence-based advocacy. And this is the outcome of this is something that will be transmitted not just to the Nigerian government, but all the governments in the sub-region. So it's a regional thing. It's not just a Nigerian thing. And we believe that if you're able to do that, it will be much easier to leverage the opportunities presented by the African Continental Free Trade Area.
We need to have good policies, and they need to be implemented. And as you know, the implementation is not by one country, it's by all countries. So we have to work collectively at national level to make sure that we have the right policies to promote businesses here. And at the same time, we work within the ambit of ECOWAS to ensure that the various ECOWAS protocols on trade across the border they are imposed, and everybody is respecting the protocol. So this, in our view, is the way out of the current challenges that we are having when it comes to cross-border trade.
As Nigeria continues to grapple with high cost of aviation fuel and diesel, business mogul and a former pioneer importer of diesel, Mr. Femi Otedola, has asked the federal government to review the terms of operators. Mr. Otedola spoke to Channels Television exclusively on what needs to be done urgently.
Talking of diesel business, of course, at some point in my life, I used to control 93% of that market. A shipload, when I used to do the business, cost $22 million to import a shipload of diesel, which then would translate to maybe 60-something naira per liter. But it's disheartening for me to see the price of diesel today. When I know the landing cost, the market is being exploited. That is why when you have few people in a business, it's not the best for any country. They should implement the antitrust law.
And after 2 consecutive days of decline, the domestic stock market returned to winning ways at the close of midweek trading session. Layo Adegoke tells us the details.
Thank you for joining us for the Stock Market Report. In line with traders' expectation, Nigeria's equity markets managed to put the brakes on the slide recorded in its overall index as we saw a mild rebound on its benchmark indicator. Well, now about 4 billion naira was regained at the close of midweek trading session on the NGX, while the all-share index inched up by 0.02% due to some buy interest in banking, industrial goods, as well as some oil and gas sector components. However, when you take a look at the activity chart, it was a rather dismal performance as the volume of transactions carried out today was lower by 17.35%, value dropped by 11.86%, while the number of deals fell by 11.18%. Meanwhile, the price table ended with a positive margin of 24 gainers, led by the 10% increase on CAP's share price. FCMB is top on the list of 16 losers, with an 8.72% loss, while the trio, Fidelity, Access Bank and UBA, are again the top 3 most actively traded stocks for Wednesday. Well, that's it on the stock market report. I'm Layo Adegoke.
That's the midweek edition of Business News. Thanks for watching. I'm Anne Nwawadu. Ijama, we're back with the rest of the news at 10.
Thanks a lot, Anne. Madeleine Albright, the first woman to serve as U.S. Secretary of State, has died of cancer at the age of 84. Mrs. Albright was a central figure in former President Bill Clinton's administration. During her time in office, she championed the expansion of NATO, pushed for the alliance to intervene in the Balkans to stop genocide and ethnic cleansing, sought to reduce the spread of nuclear weapons, and championed human rights and democracy across the globe. Last month, she had written an op-ed before the Russian invasion of Ukraine, arguing that Russian President Vladimir Putin would be making a historic error in invading Ukraine and warned of its devastating costs to his country. Simon Pusey has more international news in Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Ukrainian troops are counter-attacking Russian forces with reports that they have gained ground near the capital, Kyiv.
Ukrainians having a lot of respect for you because you could be somewhere else.
The Klitschko brothers here announcing that the cities of Makariv and Irpin have been retaken from Russian forces. 4 weeks into the war, and Russia has failed to capture a single major Ukrainian city. But the bombs and missiles keep on coming. Here, Bastion high-precision coastal missiles being launched by Russia. Mariupol has been the target of sustained attacks because of its strategic position along Ukraine's southern border. For weeks now, the city has been shelled near indiscriminately. One Human Rights Watch report describing the city as a freezing hellscape riddled with dead bodies and destroyed buildings.
From beginning in our hometown, Russians killed 264 civilians. We listen bombing attack right now, it can be more. From 264 civilians was 4 children.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has asked Japan to step up sanctions pressure on Russia for its invasion of Ukraine by introducing a trade embargo on Russian goods. Speaking by video link to Parliament in Tokyo in an unprecedented gesture accorded to a foreign leader, Zelensky thanked Japan for leading the way among Asian nations in condemning Russia's invasion and launching sanctions. In response, Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida said he planned to unveil more support measures for Ukraine and strengthen Tokyo's sanctions against Russia at a G7 meeting in Brussels. Pope Francis has said that buying more weapons was not the solution to any conflict. Francis asked participants at his weekly general audience to think about all the victims of the current war. Since the war started, Francis has implicitly condemned Russia for the invasion, but without naming it. The solution is to work together for peace, he said, as the Bible says, to transform weapons into instruments of peace. Somali state media says the security forces have thwarted an attack on a military base at the sprawling international airport complex outside the capital of Mogadishu. Mobile phone footage showed thick smoke rising from the area, which hosts international peacekeepers, the offices of UN organizations and diplomatic missions, as well as hotels. The Islamist group Al-Shabaab said its militants had attacked the biggest foreign military base in Somalia. Attacks by Al-Shabaab have become more frequent, while Somalis have been voting in much delayed parliamentary elections. The Taliban have reversed a decision to allow Afghan girls to return to high schools, saying a ruling is still to be made on the uniforms they must wear. Schools were set to open nationwide after months of restrictions since the Taliban seized power in August. But the Education Ministry abruptly announced girls' secondary schools would stay shut, causing confusion. Many had earlier talked of how happy and excited they were to be back in the classroom. Search teams have found a black box from the China Eastern flight which nosedived into mountains in southern China this week. That's according to state media. Chinese aviation officials announced the finding at a press conference after 2 days of searching. Authorities are still yet to report the number of dead, but it is feared none of the 132 people on board survived the high-altitude crash. Investigators still do not know why the plane plummeted from the sky. At least one person has died after a large tornado tore through New Orleans, destroying homes and taking out power.
Bitch better not turn this way.
Videos showed the dark funnel cloud ploughing through neighborhoods on Tuesday night. It hit suburbs that were previously devastated by Hurricane Katrina in 2005. Incredible footage has emerged of the twister tossing a pickup truck into the air and flipping it over. The storm chaser who filmed the scene says that moments later the car landed back on its wheels and the driver sped away, seemingly unscathed. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Many thanks, Simon. Super Eagles interim technical advisor Augustin Eguavoen remains confident the squad will be at the Qatar 2022 FIFA World Cup in November. At the team's press conference in Abuja held earlier today, Coach Eguavoen assured Nigerians he has a squad that will no doubt deliver the ticket after the two-legged clash against the Ghana Black Stars.
It's a very crucial one. We want to get over the line. How do we get over the line? It's to win and win well against Ghana. That's the only way we can be at the World Cup. So we'll do everything possible. We'll work hard. You know, like you were in training yesterday, you were in training this morning. You could see that the boys are sharp. They are ready to go. The federation is ready. You are ready. Nigerians are ready to support. And we will do everything possible. It's on the pitch we will speak, not on press conference alone. On that day, the boys will come out, and then I think you'll be very, very impressed.
In the Niger Women Football League, Nasarawa Amazons this evening beat Edo Queens in a matchday 12 clash in Lafia. Chinemerem Okpara and Tanom Doshima got the maximum points for the hosts. 2 away victories were recorded this evening, with Bayelsa Queens and Oshun Babes picking 1-0 and 2-0 wins against Royal Queens and Pelican Stars. World number 1 Ashley Barty has announced her retirement from professional tennis at the tender age of 25. Barty retires with 3 Grand Slam singles titles in Paris, Wimbledon and the Australian Open in January, where she became the first Australian man or woman to win in Melbourne in 44 years. And Russia is among the candidates to host the European Championship in either 2028 or 2032, despite being banned from international sport following the invasion of Ukraine. Russia and Turkey will go up against a joint bid by the United Kingdom and the Republic of Ireland for Euro 2028. And that's sports news.
Thanks a lot, Ayotunde. And the main news again. Governors of the All Progressives Congress today threw their weight behind a consensus option ahead of the party's national convention on Saturday. They also vowed to support whoever the president backs for various positions. And also today, PDP Governors Forum met in Abia State and asked Nigerians to reject the ruling party, just as former Vice President Atiku Abubakar formally announced his ambition to contest for president come 2023. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thanks a lot for staying with us. I'm Ijoma Hunyato. Good night.